Hey, we absolutely love playing the 2019 Modern Warfare here. We're having a ton of fun with it, but even the biggest fans have their own small complaints, petty grievances, and things that are just straight up annoying. So, like with lots of big games, we scour the internet, forums, and social media to see what's driving people crazy and what they hate in Modern Warfare. Some of this is constructive criticism, some of it is nitpicking, and some of it's actually some self-reflection, so let's just get started off with number 10 and talk about maps. Everywhere you look, lots of people seem to hate the maps. Heck, even Robert Bowling himself has thrown some shade at the map design. People seem to be unhappy with them for a variety of different reasons. The structure and general design is not as cohesive, ditching the typical lane structure for something seemingly not better. Sightline problems, camper areas, too many windows, you name it. A lot of people want more classic maps too, and I'll agree with that. Me personally, as someone who isn't necessarily a pro, I just didn't find any of the maps too dynamic or exciting. They just seem dull. And also, to quote the streamer Karma, he says, "Everything is good about the game, but the maps." Damn. Very curious to hear what you guys think about this one in the comments, because we're starting with a big one. In our searches, the map we've seen that gets the most complaints is Euphrates Bridge. Now, all the maps, from the sightlines to the spawns, we've seen a lot of people calling for way more tweaks and balances overall, and we hope it happens. But moving over to number 9, since we talked about a big one, coupled with that, campers. People really seem to hate campers this time around. Do yourself a favor, if you have a Twitter account, go and search Modern Warfare campers and look, there you go. Look at that. It seems like the map design encourages weird hiding spots for campers. That, coupled with the fact that the game is generally slower paced overall, means that some run and gunners are having trouble adjusting to the super low TTK, and generally, aggressive players have a harder time all around. It's hard to find a middle ground. You know, Infinity Ward seemingly wanted a Modern Warfare game that plays slightly more tactical. You die quicker, ADS and movement is slower, there are doors, stuff like that. But a lot of players still expect it to somewhat play like Call of Duty, and it seems like some people just aren't jiving with the changes, but it really seems like the campers are amplifying that frustration more than anything. Campers often are just not very fun. A lot of times it sucks. So check your corners, be safe out there. Don't tactical sprint out into the open like a weird goofball. Next to number 8, now for some real petty grievances, the menus. One recurring thing we've seen for the particular diehards that play every single Call of Duty title to the bone is the slight menu differences here. There's a couple things, from weapon lists and loadouts just not showing what you unlocked, you have to scroll through every one first, to the fact that like when you get new stuff you get that little green dot and they're annoying to make them go away, to when you're in a party and you just want the basic list of every character and their rank. You know, a pretty basic thing in a multiplayer game. The words bad organization and cluttered have come up quite a bit. We've also seen players just saying it's harder to navigate with a controller, but I don't really agree with that one. Still, this is something that can at least somewhat get cleaned up over time, but at the time of making this video, close to launch, some people think that the UI and the menus are a bit of a mess. Now over at number 7, oh boy, another thing that players seem to hate, and this happened even before the game launched, is the fact that Spec Ops Mode Survival is a 1-year PlayStation exclusive. Spec Ops Mode is the awesome cooperative offering that makes a return, and survival is one thing within it. Now, early reports of survival is that it's not that great anyway this time around, but here at our office, we haven't played it yet, so we can't judge, but it doesn't really matter. We don't really think it's cool for a mode to be cordoned off to one specific platform because of a business deal. Now, we're not going to take sides in like a console war or anything here, but it is really lame of Activision, especially in 2019 where crossplay is becoming way more of a common thing. More players on different platforms are playing together. Why suddenly disrupt that? It could be worse. You know, it's just a small mode. It's not like Team Deathmatch is exclusive to PC or anything, but it still earned the ire of many players out there, including us. Now over at number 6, here's another one for you guys. Toxic players. It feels like we always see people going on about this anytime a big multiplayer game releases, and we always talk about it in these things players hate videos for multiplayer. And simply put, a lot of times trolls can put a damper on things. I think most people honestly just mute lobby chats nowadays because they don't need to hear a 10-year-old screeching about how they're gonna have with your mom. Talking shit is fun sometimes. I feel like we all do it, but do you really want to hear it 24/7? It seems like a lot of people, especially like some players as they get older, they're just kind of over it. You know, with private party chat and of course stuff like Discord, you don't have to really put up with that bullshit anymore. And as much as you guys watching are reasonable, normal players, we got to admit that Call of Duty is mainstream as hell, and with large numbers of the mainstream public comes some crappy people sometimes. Honestly, it's all kind of funny. Don't let it bother you or ruin your experience, but we always like to talk about it. Now over at number 5, we've seen fall damage be a pretty big part of the conversation in some sectors. Of course, this is another aspect that can be tweaked, fixed, it's minor, you know, really on the smaller side, but still, it's very much one that seems to be frustrating many. Mostly because it seems to be inconsistent in these early days, maybe even a bit buggy. We've seen a lot of players leap off a simple, second story balcony and sometimes just straight up die. What's up with that? I mean, it's a height you'd expect to easily survive in nearly any video game. Maybe take some damage, sure, but straight up die? It doesn't happen every time, but you'd be surprised how sometimes a small jump can hurt you quite a bit. I get it, like this is the Call of Duty with the most realism, so of course a soldier with a bunch of equipment in a big heavy backpack could actually die, or at least shatter his legs, but this is a game where still a regular everyday soldier, every single one in the game is like totally capable of killing a dude with a throwing knife from like 100 feet away. So where's the line? It's kind of a funny conversation to have, because honestly at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Either they tweak the fall damage numbers, or you just learn to not take any risks jumping anywhere. Now, next over at number 4, with the launch of any Call of Duty game, or really any competitive shooter, there's always a gun. There's always a gun that everybody hates. Either the gun is OP, maybe it's the noob tube or the noob cannon. I don't know, I'm old. I don't know what phrases we use anymore. You name it. Right now, judging from searching, it seems like the current gang of pitchfork-wielding fans have it out against the M4. A lot of people hate it, are saying it's bullshit, even that it's OP. But the game just came out. The meta is still forming, so we don't know for sure. And if we're really being honest, you can replace it with a few other guns, possibly, in the game. Everyone has a gun they hate right now, or think it's too OP. There is an interesting theory floating around about this stuff, though, that it's really more of a psychological thing. If you think about it, it's one of the earlier guns in the game, so no matter what, more people are going to have it, and it might feel like you're overwhelmingly killed with that gun because everyone has it. So it might be OP, yeah, but it's also amplified by the fact that everyone uses it right now. Really curious to see how the weapon balancing shakes out. That's always a thing, a major point of contention for Call of Duty games, and it's going to be an ongoing battle, But anyway, moving over to number 3, loud footsteps. Another more seemingly minor complaint, but can have big ramifications for serious players who play with good headphones. The footsteps, which have been a good way to get the upper hand if you're a good listener in any Call of Duty game, and also just a lot of shooters, they're just too loud overall here. Your character's footsteps are extremely loud, as well as your teammates, and it makes it really, really difficult sometimes to hear where the enemy is, like in previous games, because you're just listening to your big dumb feet and your team members' big dumb feet. Not only that, for a pretty far range, so you're getting a lot of audio sources coming at you. Not only that, but enemy footsteps are also just as aggressively loud right now, meaning it often feels like you can't go anywhere without sounding like a big dummy who is very easy to find. There is, of course, the ability to use deadly silence, even though it's integrated differently this time, but it still doesn't really make much of a difference because the bass sound of footsteps is really loud. You could try to make it better for yourself in different sound mixes in the settings, but it's still been the subject of much hate for pretty good reason. Infinity Ward hopefully can improve on this. Still, it is really funny when you put on headphones because you have the AI voiceovers calling out everything every 5 seconds, screaming about reloading, screaming about enemies at different locations, and then you have thousands of footsteps all coming in at once. It's ridiculous sometimes. Coming down to number 2, another one we often like to point out in things that people hate in playing multiplayer games is, let's get real for a second, yourself. Sometimes you hate yourself for just, having a bad match. And you know what? It's gonna be okay, dude. Sometimes you get careless and you didn't pre-aim the right corner. Maybe you got the drop on a player by surprise, ball was in your court, and you still missed your shot and you got killed like an idiot. Maybe you had a bad night and your ratio is in the gutter. That's something that makes you temporarily hate the game for sure. The bottom line, it's only a game. Don't rage out too hard. You're playing for fun. Remember that. Give it another shot tomorrow. Anyway, down to number 1, let's talk about the campaign, and the biggest complaint we've seen. Now, for our Before You Buy, we said the campaign was okay. Solid, memorable, great moments, but unfortunately, way too short, even for a Call of Duty campaign. And after searching Twitter and other forums, it seems like a lot of other people feel that way. The short length stings, particularly because the campaign is really exciting and it leaves you wanting way, way more. It just ends as it was truly picking up. And a lot of players seem to hate that and just want more. On the bright side, there's a lot of fan service that did make us all really happy anyway. Still, hating the length of the campaign is kind of a positive thing to end on. It shows that they did a good job with it, and we want to see more. So maybe next time, guys, keep this campaign thing going again. Don't cut it from Call of Duty games, because we want to see where this goes. But anyway, those are 10 things that Call of Duty Modern Warfare players hate. But I'm sure there are so many more you might have, so let us know in the comments if you're playing. What drives you nuts the most? What weapon do you hate the most? What map do you hate the most? This is the time to really go nuts. So let us know. Let's talk down there. If you enjoyed this video, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We'd really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out new videos every single day. But hey, as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.